In today's Farm Report, the Commodity Classic was last week, and one-third of Secretary Vilsack's address at the meeting focused on international trade. Cindy Zimmerman with AgriPulse has more.
International trade made up one-third of Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack's address at the 2015 Commodity Classic Friday in Phoenix, as he urged corn, soybean, sorghum, and wheat farmers to stress to Congress the importance of Trade Promotion Authority in getting new trade agreements negotiated.
So I'm asking today for you to get engaged. I'm asking you today to help us convince this country that it's in our economic and national security interests to get these trade agreements through. In the Farm Bill, you all got engaged. You picked up the phone, you sent the email, you wrote the letter, you talked to a congressman or a senator at a town hall meeting, or you trip to Washington, made sure you let them know how you personally feel about this. 30% of sales, 2.7 billion new consumers, not letting China write the rules. Pretty doggone important time to engage all of you.
Asked during a press conference if the country of origin labeling law runs counter to the idea of free trade with our closest trading partners, Vilsack said the problem is not with the labeling, but with the required segregating of livestock that creates a barrier to free trade.
You either have to change the law, you have to repeal the law, or you have to create different instructions that allow us to create a system of labeling that doesn't require segregation, which is like a North American label. The reason why I don't accept the premise that this runs afoul of international trade is because I think that, with due respect to our friends in Canada and Mexico, I think there's a very significant difference of opinion about precisely how much harm this has in fact caused. And hopefully we never get to a stage where we have to argue that point, because that would mean we were in a retaliation circumstance and defining the level of retaliation. Hopefully we get this thing resolved either by winning the appeal or by Congress taking the steps that they need to take to correct the situation.
Reporting for AgriPulse, I'm Cindy Zimmerman.
Ag producers, if you're considering enrollment in either one of the new Farm Bill farm programs, you will have more time to update either your base acres or yield history.
We're announcing that we're going to extend the time for reallocating base acres for updating yields to March 31st.
That's Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack making the announcement Friday at Commodity Classic in Phoenix. The new deadline now coincides with the same day that producers must decide between either the Agricultural Risk Coverage or Price Loss Coverage program created under the 2014 Farm Bill. As for whether there will be an extension of the ARC PLC sign-up deadline,
we'll monitor this on a day-to-day basis and see where we are relative to where we think we need to be in terms of extensions. But right now, March 31 is now the new deadline for base acres and yield, and continues to be the deadline for ARC and PLC elections.
Producers are encouraged to visit their local Farm Service Agency office to update their base acres or yields, or to enroll in either ARC or PLC. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Profitability is important to any operation, whether it be a small business or a dairy farm. Emily Wilmets with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office shares some tips to maximize profitability on your operation.
Every beef producer wants their cow herd to be profitable. To maximize profitability, a producer must properly manage their herd. There are 4 key areas to be managed in your cow herd: production, economics and finance, marketing, and people. These 4 management areas are all connected, and if all 4 receive the attention they need, you will have a successful business. A current trend in the beef industry is a push for cattle that are big, fast-growing, and grade well. Cow-calf producers in particular feel this pressure from feedlots they sell to. Beef magazine columnist Burke Teichert writes, "Our industry is running about 25% more cows and yearling replacements every year than we are selling calves to the feedlot. Cow-calf producers also keep the cows and replacements all year long, and the sale calves for 6 to 8 months. Thus, our cows must be efficient and trouble-free." Running an efficient and profitable cow herd is not very feasible if you use bulls with the highest EPDs for weaning weight and carcass-related characteristics. Therefore, you should be looking for bulls that provide good growth and adequate weaning weight to balance industry demands while also maintaining herd profitability. Be sure to consider your environment and labor situation. You should be in the beef enterprise that best fits your location and abilities. To keep your cow herd profitable, you want one that requires little overhead in equipment, facilities, and labor. Try to replace as much feed with grazing as possible. That can be tough with Minnesota winters, but look at pasture management options that allow for longer grazing and better growth. Your cows must fit where you operate and be able to get by with little intervention. Your intervention should be for routine immunizations, pregnancy checks, and the like. Have a good facility to fulfill these needs, but don't concern yourself with extra barns for calving and other unnecessary needs. Lastly, look at reproduction rates. You want to keep cows with excellent pregnancy rates and wean calf crop percentages. Focusing on good reproduction and keeping cows that get pregnant every year and have a healthy calf can result in more pounds sold than focusing solely on getting huge calves. With that said, cows that don't perform should be culled. They are an additional cost and they don't help pay the bills. In addition, select for bulls that will produce daughters that fit in with your management style and system. A profitable cow herd is one that is managed for all aspects of the operation, and one that has a manager who sees the interconnectedness of all these areas. This is Emily Wilmus with University of Minnesota Extension.
That's the sound of one type of small drone, like one that might be used someday by the Agriculture Department's Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, to survey or assess agricultural lands. The Federal Aviation Administration has issued some proposed rules for the use of drones.
We're trying to figure out how then NRCS can work within that to do remote sensing.
NRCS Chief Jason Weller telling a House Appropriations panel there are more issues than just meeting the FAA rules. Farmers may have privacy issues, among other things. So USDA has to figure out how to use drones in a way that
protects privacy, assures landowners we're not there as a regulatory component, because I know folks have some concerns when the federal government starts flying drones over their property. So we just need to make sure NRCS is doing this technology in a way that's appropriate, that's sensitive to landowners' concerns, but also then helps us do a better job of managing the resources.
The FAA rules on drones are only proposals up for public comment. Some say it could take a year or two for the final guidelines to be issued. In Washington, Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.